I didn't know who Madonna was, obviously, back then.
You don't know who Madonna was? What kind of loser child were you?
Everybody in the cinema was just like, I was like, it's just a woman. Hello and welcome to the For Your Ears Only podcast. I'm Jack and this is Derek, and this is a special episode. This is 0020, our 20th episode, the 20th James Bond film, and the 40th anniversary of the entire film franchise. The Ruby anniversary.
Is it?
This is Die Another Day. Directed by
Lee
Tamahori.
40th anniversary.
Yep, 1962 was Dr. No.
Oh, I thought you meant today. This episode.
No, 2002.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because we're in the 61st year now. 62nd year.
Don't make me count.
We're in the 62nd year now, but 2002 were 40.
My mum and dad's 40th anniversary this week. There's a fun fact at the time of recording. Yes, there's a shout out. But yeah, the end of Pierce.
The end of Pierce. The start of a new millennium, but the end of Pierce.
A lot of people did say this was actually the end of, not cinematic Bond, but the Bond as we know it. And the whole thing changed.
It is the end of classic era Bond.
Yes. Well, I said a few episodes ago that GoldenEye was like a turning point, when it wasn't just Cold War commies, all that kind of good stuff. And the movies after it were set after the Cold War. Look at us back in the Cold War.
We're back in the cold.
But yeah, this was definitely the death of that cinematic character as we know it.
Because as we know, not only does it go back to a new Bond and a young 00, but it's like a different character. The whole thing changes. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll get into some reasons why this film might have been the catalyst for that.
Oh, again, we've not discussed this at all prior, so I have no idea what your feelings of this are.
I think that might have been a red herring. No, okay. My thoughts on this, I'll let you do your rant first.
I have no rant.
You always rant.
I don't actually have a rant. I thought, will you stop breaking things? Again, last week I was talking about putting Die Another Day low and everyone thinks it's terrible and stuff like that. And I decided to go, because I have watched this quite a number of times in my life. Yeah. To the point when we were going over questions beforehand, I knew the answers straight away just because I've heard the lines so many times. But I don't know, I watched it again with an open mind. I knew the bits that are naff and just stupid. But I think once you accept them, you're like, this is actually quite fun to watch. There's a few bits of this that I really, really enjoyed, and there's a few bits that I really don't like. However, the bits that I don't like, I think, are more to do with the time. Okay. They tried too much with technology.
It just wasn't advanced enough.
They tried too much, like, stylistically for 2002. So you look at Goldfinger and stuff, you say it's classic, but it is kind of timeless. Those cars are still there, those gadgets are still cool, everything's still like rewatchable. You know, you watch something from like the 90s or 2000s, you're like, it's like watching say like Charlie's Angels, like, and the slow. In fact, Tomorrow Never Dies had that, and I forgot to mention it, where Wei Lin jumps off and there's like a slow-mo where she goes, yeah, and I'm like, that would never happen. So things like that where it's kind of dated, I'm like, okay, that's... And the bits I didn't like about this are those bits where they've maybe just pushed it too much on VFX, just didn't have the technology. However, at the same time, Lord of the Rings was out, so no excuses there.
I think they wanted to be modern and up to date, but with the passing of time, it's just become dated.
They overshot it, I think. I think that's quite a good thing, where the things I don't like are they just reached their limit on what they could do. It was nothing it was a creative choice that just didn't work out, but I don't think it affected it too much. I think it affected it from people seeing that one bit of the surfacing. That one scene will forever be people saying, they'll look at that and say, this movie's shite. And I'm like, well, no.
But they haven't seen the other 2 hours.
Yes, they haven't. And there's a lot of bits where I think the movie's really, really strong. And I'm like, this is actually class. And there's one bit in it which I think it's actually one of my favourite sequences of any James Bond movie. But I'll get on to that. And I never thought I was going to say that going into this movie again. And then when I watched it, I was like, that was actually great. And I did actually put it back and watched it again.
Did you?
Just to see if there was anything else I could find out for it. But I'll explain it. And I was very surprised by that. So yeah.
Okay, well maybe you'll include that scene in your 2-minute synopsis.
I'm actually now I'm panicking. I forgot I was doing this.
So we have a 2-minute we have a recurring segment where one of us has to describe the film in 2 minutes, and this time it's Derek. Now, Derek has forgotten that it was his turn to do, so this should make for some good viewing.
However, for the previous viewers of the show, that is the sound of my bottle opening, and this is an attached cap which you can rip off, apparently. So, yeah.
Still no Iron Brew.
It's still not Iron Brew. It's even worse, it's Coke.
Big competitor.
Just a fun fact for people, if they don't know this already, but Scotland is one of 2 countries in the world where Coke is not the main soft drink.
I thought we were the only country. I
genuinely think it's North Korea. I think because it's not sold there and they have to sell something else, much like Nazi Germany.
Oh, here we go. Is
not
it
again?
Fanta?
No, I don't know. I know Scotland is one. Every other country, it is either Coke or Pepsi.
I think it's still Coke everywhere.
Even Scotland?
Except, no.
All right, okay.
Over Pepsi.
Yeah.
Stop delaying.
Anyway.
Right, okay.
I'm just panicking. Right, okay.
When was the last time you watched it?
Yesterday.
Well, you should...
That's even worse.
You should be fine.
Let's go for it.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Movie starts with James Bond and a couple of people infiltrating North Korea. They've found that this general is trying to hide weapons in the demilitarised zone. Bond destroys the weapons, kills the guy, and then is taken hostage. Opening title sequences. It then turns out that Bond has been captive for an extended period of time, which I'm not going to say. It turns out he's actually been traded for one of the men he met there called Zhao, who's a terrorist. Now, the reason Zhao was traded is because he was captured by the British and then traded for Bond, who they thought was then giving out secrets. Bond escapes, looking to try and find Zhao, who's then escaped. He finds out that Zhao has went to Cuba from a Chinese informant, goes over to Cuba, finds a clinic where Zhao is undergoing some sort of therapy treatment, where he then meets Jinx, this other random character. In the fight with Zhao, he finds that Zhao is holding on to diamonds, looks into the diamonds and finds the diamonds are belonging to someone called Gustav Graves. It turns out that these diamonds are chemically identical to conflict diamonds. He goes to investigate Gustav Graves. Gustav Graves has come out from nowhere, as the British government don't know where he's come from. Goes to investigate him, fights him with a sword for some reason, and then invited to an ice palace for a demonstration. Goes to the ice palace, finds out that the mine is a fake, it's all a sham, and he is actually the general from the beginning who used gene therapy to become a different person. During this, he turns out that he was actually betrayed by Rosamund Pike at MI6. There's then a fight ensues. It turns out that he's got this laser weapon that is going to destroy the demilitarised zone in North Korea and then take over the world. James Bond and Jinx team up together to go onto the plane to find the guy's name, Gustav Graves, and eventually kill him and then destroy the weapon, and everyone else dies as well.
Is that it?
I think that was it.
Okay, wow.
How long did I have left?
Yeah, it's so long left.
Did I have I realised at the end I ramped from like the ice palace melts, and then we're right on the plane at the end. It does jump with that, but it's a lot of filler. There's not a lot of filler. There's not a lot of random locations in this movie compared to the last one. No. I forgot her name.
Who? Jane?
Frost? No.
Miranda Frost.
Miranda Frost, that was it.
That was well done. You had about 15 seconds left.
That was adrenaline fueled.
That was yes. Good though, but you didn't miss anything out, really.
No.
You didn't say the invisible car.
I didn't say what?
Invisible car.
That's not relevant. That's actually one of my likes. which I'll get to.
Okay,
I think
well,
that's
controversial.
That is controversial, but I'll explain why I think it's good. Why don't you do question 1?
Okay. Question 1, everybody. This is going to be the easy question. As Derek alluded to in his synopsis, how long was James Bond in captive in North Korea? I want your answer in months.
The answer is in months.
Just in case.
Hours. I think something I didn't realise until watching it again, and then later actually looking into this. So, Jinx is an American agent with the NSA.
Yeah, right.
Why the NSA there? That's not what the NSA do. You might as well say you're for North Lanarkshire Council.
Right.
The NSA don't have field people that we know of. So the NSA are the National Security Agency.
Okay.
Only, is it 60s or 70s it came around? They have, so the NSA is probably one of the most secretive. They're the ones who listen to phone calls. The fact that I'm saying NSA right now and this is going to be broadcast, this will flag up somewhere on the NSA. It just will. By saying that and talking about it. So they look at radio frequencies and they're a whole technological security agency, I would say. They don't have people in the field. They look at signals. So signals intelligence.
Okay.
That's their thing. So they take, I think the digital age has obviously made it even more important. They're the ones that Edward Snowden worked for.
Okay, see, I didn't know anything about the NSA, and when she said that, I was like, has she just made up something there?
The NSA they wouldn't have someone out investigating something like that.
Because you'd expect them to be like CIA.
Yes. CIA is...
Like Felix.
So CIA is Central Intelligence Agency. They have assets around the world. Physical assets who gather human intelligence and physical intelligence. The FBI are more of a internal investigations thing, so they deal with... It's kind of like MI5. MI5 was internal, and MI6 or SIS are then global with that. The NSA have nothing to do with sending agents to Cuba to investigate people like that with like guns. Nothing. They would have someone in a laptop in an office in America.
Or do they?
I don't think they need physical people because they've got so much power with creating programs that like break
cyber.
into. Yes, it's all cyber. So
Jinx says this
doesn't exist. They wouldn't have. I think they would look.
The biggest flaw.
I think they would look at it and say, "Why? What do you do here? You're in the wrong place. Like you don't need to be." They have no reason to do that. I think they did that because the start of the 2000s, no one really knew who the NSA were, and no one really knows. I think there's about 30,000 people work for them, and like, nobody knows what they do. But just essentially the leak things from Edward Snowden saying where they wrote programs to break into things and listen to phone calls and read emails, and that was all for the matter of security. I think actually, interestingly, after 2002 is where the NSA was given its power, because this was November 2002. It was after 9/11. They were given this essentially directive from the president where you have a blank check, you need to go, we need to find everything, because NSA did find signals before 9/11, but they wasn't strong enough to act on. They couldn't say, we're going to go and do this because of this text message somewhere. So it was quite interesting to use the NSA for that. So
maybe in a roundabout way, when we talk about how the world influences the film and its script, 9/11 influenced the use of NSA here?
I don't think people knew about the NSA for that. It wasn't said that... Like, the NSA didn't really become a big thing until the whole Snowden thing, which I think was mid-2000s. I can't be sure. But he exposed a lot of it to say this is what they're doing, and then we were like, oh, right, I thought that was just a government agency. No, it turns out they were doing everything. They were sourcing all this information and using that to whatever end. But they wouldn't send her. They wouldn't have someone
field
like
agents.
That. Yes, they wouldn't have someone like that.
Which makes me wonder, why did they not just have a film that everybody since 1962 has wanted, which is James Bond and Felix Leiter together go on a mission where he's not just in one scene giving him intelligence. I don't know. I think
he needed it to be a woman.
It needed to be a woman. Maybe it was.
It needed to be Halle Berry.
Felix.
That was Felix.
Felix is it would be both.
That's true.
Gender neutral name.
Yes.
Maybe I knew that they wanted to do a Halle Berry like spin-off show. Halle
Berry's done enough spin-offs, like Catwoman things.
Yeah. Well, I think actually the performance of Catwoman derailed it.
Oh.
And the box office performance of like Charlie's Angels and stuff.
Oh yeah,
wasn't good enough.
I think
the Jinx.
I think it's the performances of this. I think the actor that played Zal was pretty good. I think
he was the best villain.
Yeah, I thought Gustav Graves was kind of over the top. And do you know who his mum is? Are you going to say this? Parter. It was only like a few years ago, and he came up and Toby Stevens and Rach was like, "Do you know his mum is Professor McGonagall?" What?
Yeah,
zero resemblance.
That.
Yeah.
And his father's also a famous actor, I'm sure.
Stevens. Is his father's last name Stevens?
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, he's also the only person to play a James Bond villain and James Bond himself, because he voices James Bond in the BBC's narrations of the novels.
Oh, does he? He also stole his thing, coming in a parachute. Who do you think you are? But yeah, I thought that was
one of the many throwbacks to the previous 19 films.
One of the many, yes.
Yes, because they are sprinkled throughout the film because it was a anniversary film.
Yeah, that's what one of the things I liked about it is the revisiting all the old things. So I think I'm going to say the Q branch, but R branch of the shoe, the jetpack, the alligator was there
in the background.
What else was there? Was a few other things.
There was a few things. There was, I'm sure I seen the violin in the background. It's a violin, not from
the cello.
The cello. You see the alligator, the spiked shoe, the jetpack, and then actually that full scene, the whole Q scene, because even the dialogue as it reference goes back to the DB5. Because Pierce Brosnan, when he says something like it goes invisible, he goes, "Oh, you must be joking," and he goes, "I learned from my predecessor, I never joke about my work," which is the same.
Do you know, I've also just remembered as well, he goes, "New watch," and he goes, "Yep, I think this will be your 20th by this point." Yes. You established some kind of record. I was like, 20th movie. Yep. Nice one, John. There was a few other, I'm trying to remember them now, which is starting to annoy me. Just a few kind of things dotted here and there.
Yeah, I seen somebody talk about when he takes off the wetsuit at the start and he's got like his dry clothes on are supposed to be the intro to Goldfinger. He takes off the wetsuit and he's got the white tuxedo on. The jet where he falls out the plane, he's got the Union flag. There's a couple more and I'm sure they'll come back to me.
Yeah, after the episode is finished and you're in your bed. I think in the side of the things that I actually really liked, so there was the revisiting the old Bond. I did like that. It wasn't corny in a way. It was kind of the same way of like on a Majesty's Secret Service. They wanted to do that to kind of reinforce this was the same character.
Yeah,
but to revisit this and all these different things, I thought that was quite good.
Jinx coming out of the water. That's the big one.
Revisiting?
Yeah.
What, like from Dr. No?
Ursula Andress coming out of the water.
It's like Daniel Craig.
No, but again, that's another link.
The book, the ornithology book.
The ornithologist book, where they get the name.
There's so many now. I'm thinking about it. Again, it's seamless. Here they are. That's them.
You're right. That's a positive of the film. That it's not like it doesn't feel like they're shoehorned in or
the laser. I suppose the laser's just kind of the laser's a laser.
there's lasers everywhere. Yes. James Bond. I think it's not shoehorned in. They're kind of like tastefully put in. even though there's a lot of them. Still good.
But they are
That's
still
what you
good.
want.
I think so. The things that I like, we spoke about the Invisible Aston Martin. Now, I think my likes and my dislikes are the VFX, and I'll explain why they're my likes and my dislikes. Something that was really done, I think the Invisible Aston Martin was spot on. I think in terms of the visual effects, great. I don't know how you put cameras on tyres or even inside the tyre rim, but okay, I'll suspend my disbelief for this point. I thought the visual effects of an invisible car were phenomenal. Kind of like, and we already had the technology, the Predator. The Invisible Predator, same thing. And it worked, and you've seen obviously they even put in like the steam from the exhaust and then the tyre tracks because that's going to be there. It just worked really well, and even with him opening the door and you can see the inside of the car.
It is that Predator technology, and you can kind of see the...
And even when the car's getting shot at and the camouflage, they call it, is failing, that's really well done. It's like, okay, they'd spent a lot of time on this. Literally nothing I can fault with that. That all looks good. Indeed. On the flip side, the VFX of the bullet at the start coming through the screen. I'm a fan of that. I'm going to say I'm okay with that. Okay, I forgot about that and I put it on and I went,
yeah, I did forget as well, but I think that was fun. I could deal with that.
Jinx going off the cliff was just not very good.
It was a kind of uncanny valley moment for me.
Yes, I think that's where a lot of it comes in, and you've got we spoke about it, the surfing bit, but it's just not great. I don't really think that was really needed. The
surfing, the
surfing bit at the start was great.
Yeah, that was fine.
That was really good, and that was like really tense. And it was like, there's all these surfers coming from somewhere, which is cool.
Yeah,
the bit, when
the ice is falling.
Yes, and he's on that. That's just that bit's not very good, and it's just not done well. And it does take you out of it. I
seen the director talk about how it was so hard with the technology at the time to make it look like real water during the daytime.
Yes.
And he references that film A Perfect Storm, where it has all the fake giant waves, but because that was supposed to be done at night, they could get away with that technology.
It's like the transparency of bits as it gets close to the surface. But again, that's what I think it was. Was there a point where they said, this isn't working, let's do something else? But you can't do that because you've shot all your footage and you've given it over to the visual effects team and you've given them a certain amount of time, and it might take them 6 months to do that, but you've only given them 4 months. And it's like, right, this is as much as we can do. This is as much as the programming we have, because even now water's quite difficult to do. Back then was almost unheard of.
Yeah. And that's why even modern films now, they go out to so many different companies to do certain bits of their films.
Just wetter.
Because
Jim Cameron. Because
it's so hard and they have such small time frames to do everything.
I think where I don't excuse it is let's call it the fashionable bits. So the slow motion bits are just
the
naff. Bits. The only bit I'm going to call it is the fucking Michael Bay like speed ramp things. The worst things I've seen is the bit where, see when the lasers are there and Zal walks in front and he like swishes his coat and it goes whoosh, and it turns and I was like, why? What are you doing? Or the bits where there's just like a speed ramp for no reason whatsoever. And that, to me, that's just early 2000s. That's
early 2000s.
That's Transformers, that's the Matrix movies. That's we don't need that in there, but you're going to throw it in because that's
modern and cool, and it's James Bond in 21st century. I think that was why the editors are going, we're going to put this in because this is what the thing is. I didn't like them, and they had nothing. They only take something away. They brought me out of it, and I was like, why did they do that rather than being invested in the story?
Yeah, Spy Kids. It's okay, but yeah, just watching it again, I don't know. It didn't make a scene cool.
No, it doesn't.
Then outside of 2022, I'm like, right, why is that? Can we remove that? Can you go back and fix that? So those are the bits I didn't like. The bits I did really like are the song instrumental. Take out Madonna's voice.
Okay,
the song is actually really good.
I enjoy the song.
It's a nice counter. The din. Dun, 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 dun. So it's like two violins going against each other. Worked really well. Just Madonna's voice, didn't like it, wanted it out. Don't think it should have been in at all.
But she's in the film as well.
I know. that coupled with the intro of him being tortured, I thought was really good.
Yes,
because
that's good.
If anything, it didn't just, you were talking about, it shows bits of the story as it goes along. If anything, it actually told the story as we were watching the credits.
Yes,
it told us what was happening, and I thought that was great. You're actually squeezing in
a little bit more story.
I'm not going to tell you the duration, a duration of time where he's been tortured, along with the song, and it's not unpleasant to watch because there's all these visuals and stuff, and I thought that was done flawlessly.
Yeah, that was good, because it's different from the previous formula, which is just abstract shapes that might have something to do with the plot, like oil and naked ladies and stuff.
Yeah,
and
still naked ladies on fire.
And different from what comes in the Craig era, which is like the full plot of the story.
Yeah, because I think even when it's talking about when he's in the hospital and they'd sting him with scorpion venom in it, and I was like, okay, I get that, because I've seen it. You see the thing happening, and you see all the ice and the burning beatings, and you see all that going on, and I thought that was actually just really good of showing everything that's happening in a montage, but not make it unpleasant to watch. I thought that was really done. The score on this I thought was great. Like, it was actually flawless. It worked really. It wasn't aged. It was different from the previous movies, but it was still like really good. And something I really liked about it, and it's even in my head right now, and my favourite scene of this thing was the ice car chase. Yeah. And see the trumpets of the score going through.
Yeah.
It was, I'm going to say reminiscent of The Incredibles, because Incredibles theme stole it. Loads of trumpets and like saxophones are
yeah, sure. And, I hear it now.
And the scene where the cars are chasing each other, and it was so good. It is one of the best car chase scenes of the entire series, and probably still is. And as much as I enjoyed The Tomorrow Never Dies, that was a car that was so overmatched it was so overpowerful for everybody else. But this, alright, you've got a car with gadgets, so does he.
Yeah, exactly. That's what made it cool as a young boy at the time. You're like, oh, the villains finally have a car.
It's like it breaks off and the minigun comes. I was like, oh my god! My favourite scene of the whole bit, I'm actually grinning talking about it. My favourite scene is where, and I'm sure this is probably everyone's favourite scene, where the missile hits the car and it flips the Aston Martin, and it's like, right, well, what are you going to do now? And then he gets another rocket, and I was like, oh, Bond's toast. And then he I don't know how he does that, but he brings the roof back and then presses ejector seat and it flips the car, and I was like, well done, Pierce, well done, big man. But then at the same time, he's not just trying to get away, he's trying to get back to the ice thing.
Yeah, he needs to go back to save her,
to rescue Jinx. And that whole scene, I was like, flawless. And the thing is, it wasn't even just like a shoot the car, it'll blow up. It was, you had to trap Zhao in some way and then kill him with a chandelier. Yeah. And I was just like,
when the fight goes into the ice palace as well, that's cool, when they start destroying the set.
Yes. Yeah. I just thought it was just great, and it had a lot of wit of them both try to outmatch each other and see what's going on there. And that was just, for me, that was the best scene of the entire movie, and so strong. It was probably one of the best car chases.
Definitely.
And if you disagree with me, then you're an idiot.
What was your thoughts then on the intro? Because I said in the previous episode that The World Is Not Enough has the best intro of any Bond film, with that jet through London, through the Thames, and I still believe that was the best. But this one is a good close second, third. I
thought it was good,
because it does the same thing. Like, there's a big chase on a weird vehicle,
Jeremy Clarkson.
Yeah, but it's different enough because of the characters and the setting and stuff that makes me think this was good too. And the ending of it is good. Yeah, I thought it was good. I don't think it was anything as good as The World Was Not Enough. No, I just think it was a small. But I think the premise of it all was pretty clever. And again, looking back at it, I understand it more in terms of how they intercepted the helicopter. Why James Bond was there, because he just happened to look like that guy. But then I thought
when he did the wee camera bit,
Yeah.
to get his picture, I thought that was just a device that showed you anybody in the world. I didn't realise that, no, that was actually someone sent him who that really was.
Yeah.
And that was the traitor who said this is who it is.
Right at
that all
that
kind of
time.
made sense to me.
Because that's all before smartphones, really.
Yes.
So
It was just a camera,
you're right.
yeah.
At the time, I thought they were taking his picture and it scanned the world to find out who he was.
Find everything. But yeah, and even the bit where it's like, his name is James Bond, a British assassin, and then the music goes. You're like, oh no, he knows.
But that
and then it
was
was
good.
They clever the whole watch bit and exploding the diamonds. That explains where the diamonds in the face. I don't know why they kind of just remove the diamonds.
I don't know why he does that. That just makes him a classic Bond.
Just because it looks cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought
it comes
it was
with
good.
its own. It has its like one-liners, like Saved by the Bell, and then Don't Blow It All at Once.
Yeah.
It has a good setup of the villain. I think Gustav Graves is I don't know, this guy was better than Gustav Graves, like the North Korean guy.
It took me 2 watches when I was younger to understand this was the same person. I didn't understand that, and I thought, it's even looking back, I was like, it's just a lot of effort. Do you really need to go through all of that?
It's a lot of effort, going from being dead to where we see him in a short period of time.
Yes. And he's just come from nowhere. Oh, he's found a diamond mine and he's just shot up, and that's where he's come from. And
Nobody needs to investigate his past.
no one needs to investigate, and he's getting a knighthood, and that's all you need to know.
He's also there's a laser now.
And I'm like, this must, the diamonds at the start, is that the diamonds that he's got? Where did they get the other diamonds from?
Yes, they're all blood diamonds.
They're all blood diamonds, but and obviously the guy's been pretending he's obviously Dutch in some way. Oh, he must be South African and something like that.
Yeah.
So is that all the diamonds from that box that he's got, or is there other? There must be other diamonds, and then he's just made. And I thought that's too easy to just. But then again, maybe that's the point. Maybe if he's a North Korean, no one's going to trust him because the world just doesn't do that. So why don't I just pretend to be someone else who's unknown, like an orphan, really? And I've just stumbled upon this mine.
I've stumbled upon a mine in the middle of Iceland. Is that really a place where you can get diamonds?
I don't think so. And it's like, oh, this mine is fake. Oh, is it?
I've never
heard of that in my life. Yeah, I thought that was kind of. I don't know enough about the subject, but I thought that if I'm questioned to go, are diamonds from Iceland? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about
I
it to
thought
challenge
that
it.
the intro scene was very good, and bringing the general back at the end, the whole thing was pretty good. I like that. The fact that his dad's trying to unify through peace, and then his son's like trying to just take over the whole of Korea, and then and then at the end of the film, he has to kill his own dad and stuff. It's like quite a good.
Yeah, something as well I thought, and maybe I thought this was too obvious. So you know how at the end where they're saying, well, we're going to shoot down, we're going to send a missile, or a cruise missile, something like that, to blow up the satellite, you know?
Yeah.
And they fire one, and then it just turns and vaporizes it, and that's it. And it's like, oh, get the president on the phone now. And I thought, am I the only one here that thinks, why don't we fire 2 at the same time? And that came from a ship. You can put ships apart, and you can tell within seconds you can fire 2 missiles
from different places,
long range, because it's going up to space apparently, from different places, and that thing can't turn fast enough to hit them both. Am I the only one thinking this? Because
yeah, they only did it once and went, oh well, that never. Despite all the decades of stockpiling nuclear warheads they've done.
Yeah, we do have other missiles, but no, we've tried, we've failed. I suppose that's us. I don't. As a child, I thought, oh, it's only James Bond can stop us now. The fact they fired that one cruise missile, I'm like, right, but let's be realistic. You probably have close to about 10,000 more of those. Why not fire all of them? So yeah, maybe there was other defensive things that could have went on there, but I don't know.
I don't know. Question 2, everybody. Question 2. This is where it gets a little bit harder. So I don't know if we did mention it, but they end up going to Havana at one point. So when Bond meets his contact in Havana, they talk about cigars or cigarillos cigars. They talk about how many years these cigars have been out of production. I want you to tell me how many years. Do you know?
No. I think I do. I would like to know your opinion on the fencing scene.
Okay, now the fencing scene is one of my favourite scenes.
Okay.
Because, well, we have to go back to the fact this was the first film that I ever saw, first James Bond film I seen as
in
a
the
child.
cinema?
Yes.
Okay.
I seen it at the time, and this scene was so cool. I didn't know who Madonna was, obviously, back then.
You know who Madonna was? What kind of loser child were you?
Everybody in the cinema was just like, I was like, it's just a woman. At first I was like, has he met her before?
So is this the first James Bond movie you've ever seen?
Yes.
Or the first one you've seen in the cinema?
This is probably the first one I ever saw, yeah.
So you've seen this before in the classic ones?
Yeah.
But this was 2002, so I think you like this because... What was the first Star Wars movie you saw?
Probably was Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones, was that 2002?
That was 02 as well.
Phantom Menace was 99. So then again,
I don't know, maybe I don't know. I was a young boy.
Maybe it's because of the sword fighting aspect that you like.
Yes. I feel like this is very much Star Wars influenced, and especially the martial arts parts of where he takes the samurai sword and all that.
Yeah, he goes through all the swords.
Yeah, I feel like this scene is very good. I've loved this scene since I've seen it, and all the tricks that they do where he stands on the chair and flips it over, and he falls into the fountain, and suddenly he's got this like swords from Braveheart.
Yeah, the claymores.
Yeah, and then the bit where he just kicks the sort of rapier or the thin sword into the camera.
Yeah.
Excellent.
See,
I love this.
I don't know if it's relevant. That was my issue with it. I was like, I don't know, is this anywhere here? But then it is entertaining. It is very entertaining. And then I'm like, does it need to make sense? It does go from 0 to 100 really quickly.
It's unique as well. This hasn't been done before.
Yeah, James Bond's never had a sword fight.
He's never had a sword fight.
He's just naturally good at everything.
In this kind of capacity. I like the whole fencing thing. It was for years after this, was like, I need to learn how to do this. I need to go to fencing classes.
Did you?
No.
Okay.
I don't think there is any fencing clubs local to us.
There must be some. You have to start one. Is there swords in Scotland? Yes, there is. many blades. Yeah, I thought it was good. It's a nice little bit of the plot. That's how they meet Gustav and Miranda Frost, where they sort of tear up this old gentleman's club. It's pretty cool. That's nice. That's rebellious to see as a kid, and they slash the paintings and all that. Then you see at the end them like walking past with all the stools that he's like stepped on. They do immediately like hate each other.
Yeah,
one
you're
thing
right,
actually,
it does go from 0 to 100 fast.
One thing I actually would have really liked is if we revisited that in the end sequence, because the end sequence is Gustav Graves fighting James Bond. Again, James Bond is very outmatched because of this like suit that has electricity on it. I don't really know why anybody wants that. Like, why do you want this? Could go seriously wrong. Why do you want this in the suit?
It was 100,000 volts he's got attached to him.
Yeah,
I was like, does that?
What's the current?
Yeah, that's not really a thing.
Yeah, why do you want this? But then when he's in Rosamund Pike.
It is Rosamund Pike. Miranda Frost
and Jinx have the fight.
They have the sword fight.
They have the sword fight, and I'm like, I can use to do. Again, you're clearly an Olympic fencer.
Yep.
And Jinx just happens to have these two like weird Electra-looking sword things. Again, fashionable at the time because of Daredevil. R.I.P. that movie. And And okay, that kind of works. I would have preferred if they had the sword
had a
fight.
rematch.
Yeah, and that would have been quite good of full on the plane going around, and he's got electricity. Maybe even a scene where he hits the sword and he grabs the sword and then stuns the sword and he goes, and it gets electrocuted. See that and all that kind of Lee, you could have done this. But I thought the end fight was kind of underwhelming because there wasn't a lot to be done. It was good because there was the wit of the pulling the parachute and
yeah.
Then he says, "Time to face gravity." And I thought, gravity's no here.
No, they don't have time for gravity.
I don't know what force that is, but I don't know, suction. There's no gravity here. And I thought, yeah,
you're right. That seems maybe a bit underwhelming because there's been so many great action scenes beforehand, and again, there's been such a good sword fight scene earlier on that to revisit it, I guess it was cool to see the girls fight or something. I don't know, but it wasn't really the
read
best.
This.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was kind of. It was okay, but I think, as you said, I think it was maybe diluted by how much was going on. It's like, we're on this plane that's on fire, like clearly going to crash. Why don't we fight each other?
Yeah, right. Don't let's not put our differences aside.
Let's move on to a couple of questions. Actually, I have about to see if this is possible. So there's a couple of things about. So the first thing is at the very end they survive because they get in a helicopter. And the helicopter's fallen, and then it starts the engine.
They start
now,
it in the
I
air.
am 99.9% sure that is not possible in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
Because I think with a helicopter, and any helicopter pilots, feel free to chip in here. Okay. A helicopter, you can't just go in and start up like a car. A plane, it takes time to like warm up the engine and get it through. It's not like GTA.
Right.
And apparently it does take time to do that. So people say, like in movies and stuff, you jump in the helicopter and fly away. It doesn't work like that. You need, so if it takes that amount of time, I don't think when the helicopter's falling, because what I think in my head is as soon as that starts spinning, the rotors just break off. But I don't know.
I don't know either.
And the fact that it stops to such a point where it goes right on the ground and comes up, I don't think that would happen. So I would like to know, but I don't think it's possible. And the other thing, which is probably a bit closer to home, is it possible to slow your heart to cardiac arrest at will? And don't give me the monks somewhere can do it.
I think that is there not training where if
you can slow your heart rate, yes,
to train yourself if you're being tortured, you'd slow it down to like calm yourself, or for some reason you get special training to do that. But I don't think you can go down to zero. No, because that wouldn't be good.
Well, I think there's a point where heart monitors don't pick up. The heart monitors will say zero if it gets to a certain,
like below 40. Or a number.
I think it's maybe a wee bit lower than that. Because 30 beats per minute is going to be 1 every 2 seconds. Quick math. Which is not that drastic. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you can slow your heart rate down to get to a complete... But you have to... Without drugs, that is. There's certain drugs you can take which will slow the heart down. Like, there's certain... I think potassium chloride is what they use in... or what they used to use in lethal injections, and that slows your heart rate down quite significantly. To do it without that, I don't know. Plus, he's probably on medication and things too. So I don't know. But I'd like to know if it is possible.
I think it's possible to slow it severely down, but I don't think zero. Yeah. To go to zero and then... but to still be conscious enough
to wake up,
grab,
shock the guy, he's dead.
To shock the guys and then get up immediately. Yeah. And then go for a swim in Hong Kong harbour. Go in a hotel. I like how he says, bring up my tail and some food, and then the next scene is him in like a nice suit, shaving. Who cut his hair? Perfect hair.
Unless it's just a wig.
I knew that Pierce sat in the makeup chair for 3 hours to get that all attached to him.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't like grow out his hair, or obviously because he had to film
Yeah.
But it was 3 hours work to do.
It doesn't look that jarring. It just looks like George Lazenby in the premiere.
Yeah, it does. It does look. That's a good scene where he's walking into that hotel.
Yes.
And everybody's like shocked to see this guy who just came out of the harbour walk up to the manager and demand the presidential suite. And everyone goes, okay.
I thought that was quite funny. And again, it's bits like that
humour.
where they are. It's quite comical. Not meant to be full on haha, but like, oh,
Yeah,
this is
that's
unusual.
kind of a classic Bond moves and classic swagger. Yeah.
Have you ever seen this before? Ever seen him in a way where he's like
I don't think there's been a way...
homeless?
No.
Like where he has been, he's not looked his best, but still... He has been captured a few times, but he's not been like interrogated.
No. Even Casino Royale, he doesn't look that bad.
I did only realise as well that the reason he got out is because Miranda gave over secrets that only he knew, and said that it was an American, but they only assumed that it was James Bond, and that's why they had to get him out and swap him. I only got that from watching it again, because I thought, well, they didn't know he was alive. Why did they do that? Oh no, someone was given secrets. Who was given secrets? There is no American agent, but it was Miranda was trying to get the trade for Zhao to bring him back over. And I thought, right, okay.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
now.
it's a 5-year-old, 7-year-old. It's not really
all over my
the
head.
politics.
Actually, there is one thing. We spoke about the revisiting Bond. One big thing, and it's on the gadgets thing. The rebreather. I knew it would come back to me.
The classic.
So in the ice with the rebreather. I don't know why, he's only swimming for 20 feet. But brings on the rebreather. On that note of the gadgets, we've got the sonic ring. Used many times, quite
Sonic
handy.
ring, which was good. Probably one of the best gadgets, most useful gadgets.
Especially getting out the floor thing.
That was a good scene.
I don't know why I had to just... why do you have to smash the car window? Just open the door. Now the car's wet.
Yeah.
Q's not happy with that.
The ring, the watch at the start sets off the bomb, the car itself. Anything else?
I think that's really it.
The gun. No, the sort of training glasses for where they do the sort of VR scene of him going through MI6 shooting up people.
I did quite like that. I didn't really understand why it was in. I thought it was only put in there to be like a gag at the end with Moneypenny. But then it is quite good because you think he is in the office, and then it's that whole tricking the audience. Going,
that I don't mind that scene at all. There is some things I think were quite controversial in this film, and I'm going to go with Gustav Graves as a poor villain. Like at the time, I thought he was great. But looking back on it now, I think maybe he was overplayed by Mr. Stevens. Zhao was good. Is a bit more too theatre actor-y than film actor for me. He's kind of,
Just Gustav Graves.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was maybe meant to be like this arrogant, rich guy, but then was just I get what you mean. He was very over the top. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I wouldn't say he was the best, one of the top 5 villains of all time. I think Zhao's pretty good.
Zhao was good.
The villains not so much. We've talked about how the CGI is kind of meh. I thought one thing, I wasn't sure if there was like involvement from some US guy in the plot, because at the start it seems to be like the US is saving Bond, you know.
Yes.
It's like, it feels like in GoldenEye when they were talking about we don't get our news from CNN like the Americans. There's like jokes about Americans, and then in this one it's almost like a reverse where it's like, we can't let those Brits do it themselves because they can't handle it anymore, and it's like, Jinx, you better go with him because he's just a British guy.
Yeah, even Michael Madsen Is it when he's there and he's going, "Oh, you need to get your house in order, or we'll do it for you," and you're like, "You're the NSA. You don't do this."
Exactly, that kind of thing. And I thought maybe because there's quite a big American presence in this using Jinx, that maybe they were just trying to go a bit for an American audience. I don't know. I feel like they didn't need to. It's Bond's global enough.
I don't know what the main things are. I've not looked into it enough to see what the main things people don't like about this movie. Again, it was the first movie I saw, like a lot of others already, the first movie I saw in the cinema. I was allowed to go and see in the cinema. And I liked it. I thought the themes were pretty, like, spot on. There is just bits that, I don't know, were kind of thrown in to be, I don't know, a bit more marketable. Like the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace thing, I remember when this was getting advertised, everything was ice. We see from the poster, everything's ice. Everything's in Iceland, you know. We've got the Ice Palace where everything's made up. That, don't tell me it's no fucking freezing in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got it to regulate body temperature. The tables are made of ice. If I sit on a seat, I'm going to be like, oh my god, either that seat's going to freeze me or I'm going to melt the seat.
There is an Ice Palace in real life. I remember the director saying they based it off. There's a real hotel made of ice. And but they've made it like grander and bigger and James Bond and more out there. Right. But there is a real small hotel that only survives like 6 months a year, and then they have to rebuild it. But I couldn't find enough evidence for it.
It's just a puddle.
Yeah.
Welcome.
That's just the Airbnb photo. It's like a puddle.
Can you show us to our room, please? I didn't know that.
It was definitely based on a real place. I think advertising, it gets a lot of big. I got a bad rep for a lot of advertising because a lot of people, a lot of brands chucking money at it. Apparently, there's 20 brands that ploughed $70 million into this to get their name in.
Like Samsonite?
Like Bollinger and Aston Martin and
British Airways,
BA, all these put like $70 million into it.
I didn't think there was a lot of. I should mean Jaguar, Villain's car.
Yep, Jaguar.
So they get Jaguar there, obviously Aston Martin, the usual one with that. Get Bollinger, Samsonite. I noticed at the start with the briefcase with the bomb. Omega. Again, because that's always going to be there. British Airways, because it was just a plane and it was him. I don't know why we needed to see him on the plane, but we did anyway because they paid the money for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that kind of stuff. I think if it wasn't for like me researching about it and how people at the time weren't happy with it, I would have not made any comments on that.
Something to be annoyed about. Like,
I knew that the air hostess that comes up to him and gives him the martini is Roger Moore's daughter.
Is it actually?
Deborah Moore.
Did she audition like everyone else?
Probably not.
No.
Probably not.
That's right. I was looking to see the guy sitting next to him. I'm like, is that a known person? I don't know.
Richard Branson or somebody.
It would be something like that.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't think there was anything of the branding that stuck out to me like, oh, that's a bit naff, or what's that doing there? Or...
No, I wasn't like, I can't remember what that film was. It had this big, obvious Perrier in GoldenEye.
Oh, the big
truck.
It's not as bad as, what was it? Was it Moonraker? No, it was Moonraker. What was the one where he's randomly in a horse? It's Moonraker. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, when he's like, the guy is on the gurney down the thing and then he lands on the billboard and the billboard is for British Airways actually. I'm like, that's just a big billboard.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's not as obvious as that. But no, I don't know. I think I
wouldn't have made comment about that being bad. I know that there's loads of tie-ins. We had that special where you ranted about how there's no video games anymore and stuff. I think a timely one that is pretty relevant is they had Barbie tie-ins for this film.
Oh, right.
Which I don't remember, but they had a Barbie and Ken, where Ken was James Bond in a tuxedo that was actually designed by Brioni. The clothes. And
for the doll.
For the doll. And I think it was a Rosamund Pike. It definitely was a white doll. So a set for £50 at the time.
That's expensive. That's expensive. I'm just Zhao.
But that's fine. I think we'll go on to question 3, which is the hardest question. So, at the end of the film, when the two girls are fighting, Miranda Frost and Halle Berry's Jinx, they have a sword fight, and right at the end, Jinx stabs Miranda through the chest with a knife, but it also goes through a book. I want to know the name of that book. It's relevant.
Mein Kampf.
Has no relevance to this.
Gustav Graves drinks Fanta. That is a hard question. Why do we said that about why people dislike this movie? Where do you think this movie? In fact, I'm not going to tell you where you think it's ranking. Like, this was Pierce's last movie, and I'm assuming this was planned to be his last movie.
No.
As
far as I'm aware, it wasn't. Pierce was 49 when this came out. Now, we must remember that Roger Moore played James Bond for near enough another 10 years.
He was up to his 60s, wasn't it?
10 years after that age. So, this film gets a lot of bad rap. Although, at the time of release, it was the biggest grossing Bond film ever.
Was it? Okay.
It was a number 1, beat everything that came before it. But the critical response about the CGI and stuff just really made it into one of the worst rated films. Okay. So that's why they had to change it up. And they did have plans for Pierce to come back, and they had written a script with Casino Royale with Pierce in mind, but they thought the love story between him and Vesper would be a bit off, considering at that time he would be like 52 and she was 23. And they thought, well, we'll go back in time.
Oh, we can't make anything that's not believable.
We'll go back in time, and so therefore we need a new actor. But I read that the CGI kind of ruined it, and there was also like 4 years between the films, between this one and the next one, so Pierce was like, what's going on here?
It's kind of a shame that I actually really enjoyed going back to watch this again, and it's actually only one of the James Bond movies that I own on Blu-ray. I got this on Blu-ray 15 years ago, because I actually just asked it like for Christmas, and I was like, actually I've not seen that, I want to see that on Blu-ray, and got it on Blu-ray, and it is really good, and even in Blu-ray you can see where the VFX is struggling. But here's a question actually. I would not have any issue if they revisited movies like this and just touched up the visual effects, because the visual effects with Pierce in it, the distance shots are just a character, and everything else is visual effects. The ones where it's a close-up, you could rotoscope them out and actually tidy everything up, and you could make a really good job. That if you fix that one scene and the other scenes, maybe take them out, or even the Halle Berry one, make it out so the camera isn't following her going over, but it's maybe like a back and forth. And I think anyone with something like Blender's probably the main program that I think most people would be able to use, and to use something like, and to get rid of those things, would you watch that? Would you buy that? If it's like, okay, here's the things you didn't like, we can fix them, we're not changing the story, we're changing the visuals, because the story's quite good. The story's like typical far-fetched James Bond thing. That's it. It's literally, it's like AI wrote a James Bond movie. But if you could fix that, or even go back and I'm trying to think of, I don't think there's any visual effects issues with the other previous movies and things like that. No. You'll get green screen where they're driving cars and it's clearly not them. You don't need to fix that. No. This movie, if anything, kind of pushed the boundary of it. This was the first time, I think, and probably the only time where they kind of go overboard. I mean, Tomorrow Never Dies with the cruise missile was visual effects, and it was well done. There was nothing I could say. There was no issue I could say with that. There's a couple of if you could revisit all the Pierce films with unlimited budget or just upgraded. I think nowadays most people have the skills and the most important, the technological power to go in and change these things and make them look a bit... Because people do it all the time. Where they like, for example, Henry Cavill's moustache or lack of moustache. Somebody went, just an independent person who had something, probably Blender, I'm going to just assume, and went in and actually touched that up themselves, and they made the scene watchable.
Yeah.
It wasn't distracting, it looked better. I'm like, right, well, there's someone who's obviously got the time to go and do that.
Yep.
You do have teams, and those teams have jobs, and they've got budgets and things like that. But you've obviously got something to do. So if people's issue with this movie is the visual effects, if someone had permission or MGM or something like that decided to say, actually, you know what we're going to do? We're actually going to go back and we're going to modern it. Yeah, we're going to remaster this and try and enhance this. But we've listened to your feedback. We're not going to change the movie.
Yeah.
We're also not... We're not shitting on the movie, the visual effects people at the time. That's the best they could do.
Yeah.
Kind of like Happy Feet. Happy Feet isn't meant to look real. Don't kind of believe I'm bringing up Happy Feet into this, but it's not meant to look real, and the water doesn't look real. But that was just at the time. That's all they could do
at the time.
And I don't think visual effects people would be like, okay, well that's all we could do at the time. It could be the same visual effects team. By the way, remember that thing you worked on 20 years ago? Do you want to go back and give it a stab with this technology?
Go with the future
I
technology.
wouldn't have any issue with that.
I don't think so. I think that's quite a modern or timely kind of thing you're bringing up. There's loads of things that, like, even Star Wars, we talked about how many revisions that went through. They went through the 90s revision where they put all the 90s effects in, and then the 2011 they upgraded it all again with their modern, and they put new characters in and new backgrounds. And even this weekend there's, like, because Doctor Who's finale's on Saturday and it relates to a story from the 1970s, they're re-releasing that original episode with 2024 visual effects on it. So they're bringing it all back, and that'll be an iPlayer for nothing. So
I don't think there's any issues with it. I think it's just, you're not changing the story. If you want to watch the old one, that's fine. If anything, it just doesn't take you out of it as much. Remove those Michael Bay things, those like speed ramps and things like that. Take them out.
Definitely.
Or even just remove that bit of that scene. We do not need that. Those kind of things, it's like, okay, here's the version where we've decided to go in and touch bits up. Story's still the same. Don't expect any twists or like shock endings. The helicopter doesn't actually just hits the ground and explodes. But yeah, I wouldn't have any issues with that. And I know there's people who are going to be like actual Puritans and say, no, don't, leave it where it is. Leave it terrible. Like, don't change it.
But maybe 20 years isn't enough time pass to do something like that. Maybe you'd say, like, for the 25th anniversary of this film, we're going to remaster it. Which is only like 4 years or something.
I think if you got people
next year
that wanted to if people were willing to say, I'll buy that, or I'll go to the cinema and see that. Again, I don't know if they would do something like, if they would say, okay, we're going to remaster these movies and bring it to the cinema, to the big screen, and do it that way. I don't know if people would go and see it.
No, they did that, remember, was it last year?
With what?
No, 2 years ago, it was the 60th anniversary, James Bond's, and every week there was one film in every cinema as an anniversary thing.
The people
and like the Phantom Menace is this month. It's 25 years, so they're re-releasing it in the cinema. But in 2011, that's what I mean. 2011 they had all those upgrades that make it look, that's the ones you can watch on Disney Plus right now. And it's got like Jabba the Hutt, who's an actual alien instead of the original where he was like an Irishman. Just a big Irishman. So yeah, they could do that with this. I would watch that. I would buy that as well.
Do you think James Bond has a bigger fan base than Star Wars? I don't think it does. I think that's what it comes down to. It's like, right, well, I don't know. I think there's a kind of, I think there is a bit of a snobbishness with not the James Bond community, because we're part of it, but I mean the people who make it and
make the decisions.
I think the executives and stuff are more along the lines of, nah, leave it where it is. No touching it, no wasting my time, and I'm not spending money on that. We have no money. We're still paying off Moonraker.
They have no money. They're still thinking of another script.
Yeah, we're not going to do something like that. But I don't know. I think if people's issue is the visuals, and they don't have any issues with the story, well, they might do, but if the main thing is the issues, and that's what they always point back to, right, okay, if you fix that, do you have a problem with it? No? Do you look along a bit fonder then? I don't.
Maybe the critical response to it is too low for them to even think about ploughing any money into a 20-year-old
But
film.
then again, I don't think it would be that expensive. I think if one person can fix major studio errors, i.e. the Henry Cavill moustache, then surely someone or two people can look at this. I will learn Blender and I will fix it. Then surely that would be the case. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but yes, if you know visual effects, is it possible to fix this movie?
I think it would be. Like, you could fix anything. You could fix this podcast.
Anyway, right.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
We've still got the ranking.
We've got one last thing to do. I hope you've enjoyed this special 20th episode. We wore our tuxedos. It's the end of Pierce, regrettably. Potentially the best Bond so far. Almost definitely is.
You do the ranking here and I move it, don't you?
I'm going to rank this film. Derek's going to move it.
I'm actually quite intrigued because I went into, to be honest, I finished the last episode with my opinions set, and going back to watch it, I was like, I was actually pleasantly surprised by this. Not that surprised, but pleasantly surprised. Whilst Jack is deciding where to butcher this list and realise what grave error he made last week, I would like to thank you for tuning into this, and if you've not shared this, then share it. Share it on Instagram or whatever social media platform you're on. We would also like it if you could review it. So if you are on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts, I believe on Spotify you can give it a star rating. We would appreciate a 5 stars. If it's on Apple Podcasts, I think it is just a review. I'm not sure if it's a star rating. But whatever you can do to tell us that you enjoy it. On YouTube, a wee like goes far, a wee share goes far as well. And if you're not subscribed to any of these, then why not subscribe? We are still here. We're 20 movies down, still got all our specials and stuff in between it, and we have 5 movies left.
Oh
my God, 80% of the way through.
How did we do it?
How did we do it? We're over a year on now. And this week actually we're going to be visiting the set of Tomorrow Never Dies. The Atlantic Hotel.
We're going to visit a car park.
Yes, we're going to. Well, it's not even in Hamburg, is it?
In the final edit.
The Atlantic Hotel is there, though, I'm sure.
We'll need to check that out.
So we'll go to the Atlantic Hotel and see what's going on. That's the only thing I can remember from Tomorrow Never Dies. So I have waffled on and I have thanked the good folks enough. Enough? Well, actually, no. I can't thank
a
you
lot
enough.
of people started to comment on the Spotify.
Yes.
You can do your Q&A thing. Thanks for doing that. Keep doing that.
There is one person. I think it's Eden. I think his name is Eden.
Okay.
Thanks
you,
Eden.
for that. Thanks for everyone on TikTok giving all their millions of opinions, a variety of opinions, mostly wrong opinions. But keep doing that because it's good.
It's funny.
It gives us a laugh. And obviously boosts the ratings.
Right.
Okay.
I'm going. Am I going to be surprised too?
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued where you're going to put this.
I think I did okay.
So
I think I've done okay.
I'm going to just move this around. I'm going to just see.
Yeah, I think I've done okay.
Right. Where the hell is it? Oh, it's mid-table. Okay. Okay. I actually don't. I don't disagree where you've put it. That was kind of put it. It's hard to defend it, even though I've said it's the best car chase with it.
It is hard to defend it, but it's hard to change it because I think looking at the films above it, can you really put it above that? But you can definitely put it above the ones below it.
Yes. Is it better than The Man with the Golden Gun? Yes. Is it better than The Spy Who Loved Me? I don't know. I would probably say it is a wee bit better than The Spy Who Loved Me, but I don't know. I don't want to move that.
Is it as iconic though? I wouldn't. I swithered whether to put it 1 or 2 more higher. But Derek's going to make a huge error here. I don't know why he would do that.
You're not talking now?
No. I'm just doing a silent protest here. Yep. We've come to the end of the best James Bond, and now we're going back to where it all began with Casino Royale.
Right. I've made a move that you probably weren't expecting.
Oh no.
Diamonds are forever's at the bottom. Oh, I should have done that.
Diamonds are forever.
So I have done that. I have had a think.
You've thunked. What have you done? Right, you put. Oh. Okay then.
I have had a think. From the edit in the last few weeks about where I want things to be, and my mind kept going back to GoldenEye. I don't really know why. I was like, actually, would I watch it? I don't know. Maybe it's just watching Lord of the Rings again and seeing Sean Bean.
Yeah.
Maybe that's probably it.
Game of Thrones.
No, not even Game of Thrones. But no, I kept going back to it. And I thought that is probably the one that my mind keeps going to, because we keep talking about the good things about movies, and I couldn't really think of anything about that where I was like,
yeah, there's no bad CGI in that.
Yeah, I think as well because it was talking about the turning point, and even though Pierce Brosnan, you would say that's the end of that era. I kind of go back to what I said at the start, where I was like, I think GoldenEye is the turning point of the era.
Yeah, it's turning point of the
brand.
character,
Yes.
the brand. Yeah.
So
okay,
before I try and defend myself anymore and change my mind, do I go through the order?
What? It's such a biased board for 90s baby.
I'll go say 90s.
Exactly. Okay, so in last position we have Dr. No, Thunderball, Moonraker, You Only Live Twice, For Your Eyes Only, A View to a Kill, Diamonds Are Forever, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Live and Let Die, License to Kill, Man with the Golden Gun, Die Another Day, The Spy Who Loved Me, Octopussy, From Russia with Love, The Living Daylights, Goldfinger, Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough in second, and GoldenEye is the best film.
GoldenEye
so
retains its spot because I can't remember of anything bad about it.
Okay.
Die, but not today. What?
Yes. Well, thanks everybody. I hope you're all raging at the screen right now.
You can't go back on that.
Just let us know and we'll be back.
An opinion will change again. I think the bottom half needs to be revisited. I think we need to get unlimited moves. I think we could come to
Unlimited moves.
I think we could come to an agreement on the bottom half. Is that I don't think Doctor No should be the bottom.
You put it at the bottom.
I think we both put it at the bottom. This is a collaboration.
I'm looking forward to entering the modern era.
Yes.
The modern era, James Bond changes with the advent of the Bourne Identity, which came in 2002, coincidentally.
And you've got the gritty reboot.
So the gritty reboot.
2005, Batman Begins. There's a lot of reboots at that time.
Of course, yeah. So let's see. Where
let's
does
see.
Daniel stack up to Pierce?
Nowhere.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.